on, vinyl community? Welcome to another video with the Record Spinner. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about my recent first experience with Mobile Fidelity Sound Lab. If you're a long-time vinyl collector, I'm sure you know what MoFi is all about, but to those of you that don't know, Mobile Fidelity Sound Lab started out as a label in the late 70s, putting out audiophile versions of classic albums, and for the most part, since then to the present day, they have been consistent on putting out excellent sounding versions of albums, whether it be on vinyl or super audio CD. For myself personally, I don't buy MoFi records often, only because of the price. I'm not much of an audiophile, and if anything, maybe I could say I'm a little bit of an entry-level audiophile, just not to the full extremes. And I do care about how things sound and who mastered what and whatnot. But for one of their newer titles, single LP, half-speed mastered on heavyweight vinyl and everything, it runs about $35, and that's a little bit more than what I'm willing to spend on one single LP. But what I got here, and this is my very first MoFi record, that is Foreigner's Head Games. I picked this up for an astounding price of $20. So considering the reputation that MoFi has and the price that this was locked at, I thought it was worth investigating. So I had a lot of high expectations for this. Got it, received it, and then I gave it a spin, and I decided to make this video. I did not see myself making a video on MoFi up until I got this record, so I figured I report my opinions and what I thought of it overall. Now, before giving this album a listen, I knew right off the bat this was going to be a challenge, because Head Games is not necessarily an audiophile's album. From what I've read on Foreigner's history, the critics would always go on about how their records always sounded polished. Up at this point, they already had their first album and then their second album, Double Vision. Both of those albums sounding pretty clean for the most part, pretty well recorded. This was kind of produced and done in a very rough and ready format, so I was kind of interested to see how the people at MoFi were able to work their magic with this. So I kind of had to keep that in mind when I was listening to the record. Now, right off the bat, in terms of how this sounds, it sounds excellent. This sounds really, really nice. Lou Graham's vocals are very upfront and center, and it sounds very lifelike. On my turntable, I have the Ortophon OM5E, and this is something that I've read, and I can relate to it. There can be sibilance on some records, but for the first time in a while, I actually did not hear any sibilance, particularly on the S's and the K's and the C's. It just was not there. So I do give a lot of credit to, it was Craig Wunderlich that mastered this record. I did not sense any sibilance, which was very, very nice. The acoustic guitars are also very three-dimensional. I'm not quite sure if it was just the way that they're recorded or the way that they were able to bring it out on this pressing. They just sound very lifelike as well. The band instrumentally sounds very smooth, but kind of a little bit in the back. And the drums are very boomy in places as well. So you can only do so much with it once the record is already mixed and mastered back when this came out back in I think it was 79 that this album came out. So in terms of the source, MoFi is always going on about using the first generation analog masters. So for audiophiles that really love the sound of analog and analog purists, how they go on about it, they're getting their money's worth because they know what they're getting. And it's nice to know that there is a reissue label out there putting out these albums again and using those tapes, because I know that a lot of companies go down the digital route and they'll use digital transfers, which in my opinion is okay depending on how it is properly handled. But aside from that, I feel like a factor in how great these releases can sound on the MoFi label is the way that they're recorded. Some perfect examples of some excellent sounding albums are Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon, Supertramp's Crime of the Century, Cat Stevens' Tea for the Tillerman. Albums that are intentionally recorded to sound absolutely perfect will benefit very, very much on the MoFi label. I don't know if this is the case. This is kind of how I see it, kind of just my small opinion. but I feel like taking anything and putting a MoFi label, you know, the original master recording band on it, is guaranteed money because it's MoFi. So I do think that the way that it is recorded is a big playing factor. Another thing too that I think labels that insist on using the original analog masters is how the tapes have aged. Now this is something that I came across on this record, not significantly, but I felt, you know, I kind of saw the reason why some labels go down the digital route. At the beginning of side 2 is the title track of the album, Head Games. I noticed a little bit of tape flutter going on in the beginning of the song. I recorded a small bit of it and I'm going to place it in this video, and you got to listen very carefully. You will be able to hear it. Don't just focus on the song itself, because if you know the song, you know, you'll know what to expect, but listen very closely to the tape, you know, that's used in this. It's only going to be a small clip because I don't want the YouTube copyright police to hunt me down and flag me for this video, but have a listen for yourself. See what I mean? If you didn't really hear it, peel back, listen to it again real quick. So I think the way that these tapes are maintained is a very important factor. Now they could have perhaps digitally manipulated that little tape flutter to make it perfect, but they are insistent on using the original analog sources all throughout, so I do give them credit for that at least. Speaking of that, one interesting thing that I found in the bottom right hand corner of the gatefold, and I'm going to take a photo of this so you can see it up front. It says on the bottom, any sonic artifacts present are a product of the original master tape. Attempts to eliminate them would have negatively impacted the integrity of the presentation. If anyone has any other MoFi releases, let me know if that little note appears on other releases. I would get it because of that tape flutter if they put it on this just to let the listener know. But if that appears on other ones, any viewers out there that have MoFi records, please let me know. I'd love to know. So with that said, I can kind of understand why some companies go the digital route, because they don't have to deal with any possible issues like what I heard on this when they're putting out these albums again back on vinyl. But with that said, I'm not nitpicking or complaining. I wasn't drawn too much away from the listening experience. I just kind of noticed it real quick and then jumped back into enjoying the album. So aside from sources and how it sounds and everything, I gotta talk about the packaging. MoFi packages records better than any other company that I've seen. I don't know if you can really catch it on camera, but like, they use very thick, heavy-duty cardstock, always using Gatefold sleeves. It just, when you hold it, it feels of good quality. And even look at the spine. It is so thick, you can clearly see the spine and what it says. And of course, all MoFi records have the band that says the original master recording, and they use a color that kind of complements the album. You can see the green color in the Head Games title. And just for this release, I'll show you. Here's the front, here's the back side, and if you're curious, I did get copy number 637. Not quite sure how many copies they made of this. If someone knows, please let me know. And of course, the record does come in the classic standard MoFi sleeves. This is made out of rice paper. This is stuff that audiophiles love. Even for myself, I love it when records are sleeved this way. And there's the label right there. Very distinctive MoFi label. This is also pressed at RTI in California. By far the best pressing plant in North America. They just do a fantastic job pressing records. And they also include a little, let's see if I can get it out. It's like a little bit of a flyer that advertises some other titles that they have. So you see that they have some Bob Dylan in there, got some Grateful Dead, Billy Joel, got another Foreigner album, Weezer. And then they even promote some more product, like they promote their Super Audio CDs, their 24K Gold CDs, and some other products that they offer, such as the sleeves and other cleaning products. So that's always nice to have, so you can kind of plot out what your next purchases are going to be. So, I'm going to kind of round off this video with my conclusion on Mobile Fidelity. Is it worth investigating? If you are an audiophile and you dig full-on 100% analog replication, then this is the route that you should go on, and you should really pick these up. Now, for anyone that hasn't really looked into MoFi and the albums that they sell, if there is an album out there of a band that you cherish more than anything, whether it has sentimental value or you just love it, if MoFi has done a version of it, check it out for yourself, and I'm sure you'll be blown away with the results, and it'll probably be the best sounding version that you'll ever hear of that particular album that you're into. Do I see myself buying Mobile Fidelity Sound Lab records? Perhaps if there's more Amazon price drops. There's also a thing called the silver label that they do, where basically they're not able to use the original analog masters. Sometimes it's like a second generation copy or some other secondary copy, or sometimes a digital version. What they'll do is they'll press that up on standard weight vinyl and sell it for, I believe it's around $25. That price right there is a little bit more justifiable, so if I come across any silver label MoFi releases, I will be sure to do a video on them and tell you what I think. Now here is my question for you. What were your first Mobile Fidelity Sound Lab experiences like? Please leave a comment down below, I'd love to know. And if you enjoyed this video, please like it and subscribe to the channel. See you guys in the next video, and most importantly, keep the record spinning.